that really shot up on the news. I mean, we were kind of doing what I had forecasted it would do, but sometimes you get these macro news events that do move things in certain directions. Um, I don't really like to trade when this happens. I want to see a return to the value area. Um, it's got to stick around at an elevated level like this for a long time for it to break structure. So how do fundamental news events or random swan events like this play into the theory that markets are natural and not random? They don't. They don't actually have any effect on how markets are going to move because they will follow their set pattern. You will get these aberrations in price, which will all come to it'll come back to equilibrium at some point. Whether that is a full retracement of the value area or time has to catch up with price, which means price just hangs where it is and then time kind of catches up with it. All right, so the gold trade, I do not have a bias on this right now. It is a little up there, obviously, so be aware if you are wanting to go long that there's a lot of danger in there. Looking at, see, yesterday we wanted to be short at 13.14, and that actually wasn't a bad. Sorry, I like the hourly. I don't know why I'm on the 30-minute. It actually turned out to be a pretty good trade yesterday because when we were talking, it did come back into that value area, and we had a nice little ping pong action here, but then we just kind of had a news event that broke us up. So the most probable thing that happens on a news like that is price comes back down. But I don't like to trade that. I like to trade things that are in structure and that are following price structure. The dollar yen, same thing. Now, it obviously was hammered. There's yen strength. Yen is actually the strongest currency right now, and the dollar is the weakest. So really what that means is that depending on how long you want to wait, the better value is buying dollar pairs, which is pretty much the majority of what I trade in Forex. So we do have a rounding bottom here. We have a lot of supportive buying. We have increased volume as we've gone down. That's very supportive to see. And we did crash right through this old trend line here. But also, I'm not sure if I want to really consider this a test of the angle, but it is certainly a test of that value area. Would really like to see price return to the 1100, or between 111 and 111.10 for us to go long again. Otherwise, I want to see how honest this movement down was. I wanted to see it test this trend line. Essentially, if we're kind of just muted here and we go up to right here, where we get into the intersection of an old trend line and our 111.58 cycle, we have a good long opportunity only if it breaks. Oh. That's what we want. So again, let me point that out here real quick. I no longer have the trades on my screen. They're going to be available for you right where you're watching this. I'll pull it up here. can't get on it for some reason. Try this. We'll get there, folks. There we go. So on the Forex portal where you're watching this, if you see signals, right, click there, and I gotta move it. If you scroll down, you'll see the trades that'll be put in for the day. So the one on the 10, the other one hasn't updated quite yet, looks like. It should show up there. It'll be there shortly. All right, so that's the UJ. Look at the UJ. While we're talking, we may see some movement back into where prices were trading before the news. We'll see though. The euro, lot like gold, we had like a 60, 70 pip drive to the top, but it stopped there. I know we kind of touched on this a little bit. Like to see what price does here, if it weakens or not. The Aussie dollar, of course, we're really going to see this happen all over. But the Aussie dollar was stopped really at that angle up there. The pound, this guy, you know, there's a there should be a break of this zone again. This is very weak movement, but we'll see how much conviction there is behind the dollar for the rest of the day. The New Zealand dollar is really, I think out of all the pairs that I trade, I think this one is the most elevated in its overbought conditions because it is way up there. Got stopped at that old trend line there, stopped at this angle. This is actually a very safe shorting area. You know, your risk is up to the, you know, above all of these, like at 0.7245. But otherwise, we have a lot of bias for down movement here. Euro pound. Well, we creeped right back up into the old trading zone. Again, this highlighted area is still extremely important, this confluence of time and price. If we get above it, that is very bullish. But for the time being, we're still below. We don't want to really count this movement yet as something to trade yet. We just have to really be patient and look at these markets as the day goes on. Looking at gold again. It looks like it's continuing to have a little step down. The dollar continues to move up a bit here, so that's pretty good. Let's see what else. Euro, yeah, a little bit of weakness again. Yeah, we're very likely going to have a return to the value area. And I tell you what, if this doesn't have a lot of support to kind of keep us in a consolidative period for a while, if value does return down and it breaks these lows that it was at, that's a pretty big move down. That'll be an interesting move. Moving a little bit faster today because, you know, really not every day I'm going to have good setups for us. I am not going to give suggestions for trades that I wouldn't take. And in fact, one of the most important things that new traders fail to do, and that is not trading. Just because you are at your desk and you're watching the markets does not mean that you have to trade. I've spent many days in a row not doing anything, not taking any positions. That's rare, but you know, it's not uncommon to go a day or two or maybe a full week without taking any trades because you just got to wait for things to form up. There's no point in taking risk just because you're anxious and you want to trade. That's just immaturity in trading. That's how your account gets killed. That's how it's an amateur way to trade. You only should trade when there's an opportunity to make some bank. I'm not opposed to taking high risk entries, but if I don't see anything that's really the greatest area for position, then I'm certainly not going to tell you or give you an idea of how I would trade it if I can't see it. It's unfortunate that this happened a few hours before we were going to meet. If this wouldn't have happened, we would have had a lot of great trade setups. This movement wouldn't have happened. We would have stayed within these value ranges. We would have had some nice charts to go over. But you get days like that. You get days, hump days, Wednesdays are kind of a bummer sometimes. I would really love to see the return up here. I really, the higher we go in the dollar-yen pair, where did I put that other pen? The higher we go in the dollar-yen pair, the more that these late coming shorts are going to have to feed a rally back up. So watch for that. That's always a good sign. Same with the euro. Anybody who was trying to get long and missed that move, they're going to be fuel for some movement down. That's just going to happen in a lot of these pairs. We could say we're already kind of seeing that happen in this very, very extended New Zealand dollar, US dollar pair. But this really it's really respected that trend line. We could see it do this, but really the move, if it does that, is really down to here and then over to there as well. Okay, that is where we can really see things kind of moving here. We'll want to follow this, and yeah. Well, then we'll start in a new square, which is exciting. Those are always fun moves. When new squares start, depending where price is at relative to the beginning of a new square, you can have some really tight constricted movements, or you can have some really wide and nice big swings, and those are my favorite, which is what we would get here. Okay, so now if price were to continue to trade as it is and it gets over here, this is the ending of a square. This is a big important area. This is very, very, very indicative of trend changes or strong culminations and continuations. But these are always big, big, big zones to watch. That's coming up on the 24th, 2 weeks away. So just watch, keep an eye on this zone for now. Taking a look at cryptos. And where are we at? Now, I'll come back to Bitcoin here, but I want to look over other ones. Ethereum. This guy is a Mad Hatter. It has one direction it wants to go, and that is up. And it has really kind of ignored this resistance arc. It seems like it's getting really high in volume up here. And when you start seeing really large volume bars as prices going up and getting to the highs in this trend, that is generally a sign of weakness, and that prices are going to come back. The move up here overnight and then down, we really did not get a lot of support out of this. We had to kind of sit in it and wait. There was a lot of indecision on whether people wanted to get back in long here. But right now, technically, we have kind of a short-term trend down. And our first area of resistance is obviously going to be this arc that has turned into support. It's going to have to blow through that. It's going to have to go through the 1-2 line. And again, the behavior of this angle, the angle that is right below Ethereum, is that when price is above it or on it, that means that price is moving twice as fast as time. So the momentum in price is extremely fast. So the equilibrium of time and price is below us. It's on this angle here, this 45. This is where price likes to trade. This is where price likes to come back to. This is where price normally wants to be. And, that makes sense if we look here. This is our value areas, right, in this zone. The point of control is way down here. Actually, let's bring us back to where the breakout happened. Sorry, right there. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. So the point of control is around the 1,000 value area. Makes total sense. And so the point of control and this 45, they are really like, if you think of price, I don't know if you ever played with those ping pong paddles where you have the rubber ball attached to it and you can just like ping pong it back and forth. That's what you should think of price as that ball on an elastic string. And the farther it gets away from these zones of equilibrium, the more it wants to come back to it. All right? But it doesn't have to. Sometimes that ball can extend on that string and it just snaps, and then you, I don't know, you hit a family member in Thanksgiving with it. So, don't play with those toys at the table, and be careful of trading in extended price ranges. Long-term trend traders will just say, well, if something's in a long trend, don't short it. That's very true. That is always good advice. But to me, there is a point of danger, and there is a boat that has been missed already, and the only way we're really going to get back in is if it comes back down. So that idea is still there on Ethereum, where it was on any pullbacks. This time, I'm going to say between 900 and 1150. No. I'll probably say 1,000. 900 and 1,000. All right. And now looking at Litecoin. Litecoin, it is trading in this resistance arc. It hasn't gone below it, really. But the angle's getting steeper. I just lost one of my shoes. For those of you who don't know, I have a standing desk, and usually I start my morning around 5 a.m. Central Time. Gym, shower, breakfast with the wife, and then I'll come down here, and then about the time I start to talk to you is like when I kind of take one of my 15-minute sitting breaks before I stand for the rest of the day again. But that's how I lost my shoe, because I'm sitting in a stool, not a regular chair. And all right, anyways, enough of that. Litecoin, it's a lot like Bitcoin in the respect of this arc, and I want to go over Bitcoin's chart, and you're probably gonna listen to this, and let me find it. When I take private clients for trading, I always go through a little slideshow, but I think I might actually have the full one on my laptop. This one's here. Okay. Pretty normal dude. Yeah, there's my beautiful wife, married a balding idiot. That's me. I'm the balding idiot, and there's my much better looking younger brother. Anyways, what I'm talking about is this right here. What I'm going to talk about right now is going to sound a lot like this. All right. The Miss Cleo, Crystal Ball, Vulcan Mind Meld, and the dude who talked to the dead people. That's what this is going to sound like. And so just be aware. This price movement. Oh, I got to stand for this because this is fun. Gann was a huge believer that time is the most important factor in any market. Okay, and time is the catalyst for all major moves in price. It's one of the reasons why on the 22nd of December, I was talking about this pivot in time here being like around 1.5 or on time on around 1.5 here, that we would see a violent reversal to the downside. Now, this rise up and blah, and then there's talking about, we're going to be on Coinbase. Ripple's going to be on Coinbase. I knew just from following Gann's theory for a number of years and trading that way that even though to me it was sick to my stomach to get out of the Ripple trade, I knew that was the time to get out of it. Could I have ridden it up more? Sure. But when we got to this pivot date, actually a little bit before it, on the first little tip down here, I took my profit. I could have ridden it up for a lot more, but I just followed how I trade. And yeah. And then we had this big old sell-off. Now, people will say that, well, this sold off because then Coinbase said Ripple is not going on Coinbase. However, this kind of goes to prove that Gann said that fundamental events that you know about or random swan events, they are not the catalyst for price movement. They are the results of important time cycles. So price changes due to time cycles, but so does sentiment and human behavior. That is the weird thing to think about. Because this move changed before the announcement. This move happened before the move in this chart. All right. Now, what does that mean looking at Bitcoin? When we are in these arcs, like this especially, when we have what's called a sort of even distribution of price in time, because this arc is also like a time cylinder, or I don't know, it's like a stasis zone. It's a stasis zone when price doesn't actively test it. So when price is in here, if it's just slowly kind of churning down at the same momentum as this arc, I mean, it's as it goes down, it should get a little faster. But really, all it's doing is price is stuck in time. Now, you have to think of price not even being there when that happens, okay? So you have to imagine that all of this movement from about, we'll just say from 15,000 down to where it is now, actually we're probably could have extended this out a little more. Between 15,000 and 1250, where this ends, price is not actually there. Okay, I know this sounds bizarre, but price is not actually there. Our way of interpreting time and price right now is very subjective. The movement is a false move. It's out of sync, and really, in reality, our eyes, brains, and the software are lying to us, and everybody else, because technically, I guess not technically, but Gann style way, price is still up here. It is still around the 15,000 level. And I'm saying that because price was not actively trading outside of this stasis arc. So what does that mean? Well, that means for the entire time that we're still in, like it is 7:56 a.m. Let's bring this down to 3-minute chart. And lock. Not until, you have to give or take a few hours. And actually, I'm going to say probably over here because this is a time cycle over here. From the time where we've entered and started the mute movement and just followed really the momentum of this cylinder at like 15,000, 1450, 14,500, all the way down to here, this is a stasis zone. And what that means is that once we get out of it, right, here's our end of our pivot time cycle. Once we get out of it, we will have a very, very fast movement back to catch up. It's like it's buffering. Like you're watching Netflix and you're watching it and nothing's happening. It says it's buffering, and time is going by while you're sitting there waiting. But what's happening on your screen is that it's trying to catch up and get in sync, and when it finally happens, it just kind of all poofs and shows up, boom, like that. It like speeds up and catches up. That is what's happening here. All right, will we see further movement? Sure. We have until the 12,500 mark, and really around the 11th, 6 p.m. Central Time on the 11th, before we find our reversion back into normal time. All right, I know that sounds bizarre. It does sound funky, but anytime that right now that we are going to be moving in the opposite direction of this arc, so basically the more we move up, the more we are trying to get back into where price is actually at. Wrap your head around that. Good luck. But that is where price is technically and really at, is up here. It is not actually down here. It's a little weird. So the behavior here is the further we go up, the more momentum we should have, the higher we go up. But the lower we go, that's still fine. We're still technically in a time bubble with price until we get to the 11th. All right. Now we'll go back over some currency pairs just to see what's going on before we call it a day. I know this wasn't a very good start to the Forex trading day because of these random movements, but let's check out gold. What is gold doing? Gold has moved down more on a little support, but still moving down. Dollar yen, nice. We're moving up. We did find rejection up here. Naturally, it would have. We would find that it would get that rejection off that harmonic level at 111.585. The euro is always usually late to the party or really early to the party. It has not wanted to exhibit the weak return yet, but it very well may. Aussie dollar, yeah, corrective move. Pound dollar, corrective move. The New Zealand dollar, corrective move. Yeah. What's this guy doing? That is a short setup with a tight stop at 8861. Stop at 0.8882. Your profit area may want to be fairly tight as well. we may form that cup and handle formation where it just moves up the test here. If you don't want to go short there, we could wait to see if there's a test of the that culmination of time of momentum and price up there at 0.8898. Let me write that better. All right. So those are we got. Looks like we got some good ideas here. Okay, now Bitcoin is wanting to. All right, let's go back to here. Bitcoin is wanting to probably test down farther and continue in the stasis bubble and move here. That's totally fine. The other thing is that all of the other pairs are suffering a lot of. All the altcoins are crippled as well. Yeah, it's just this move in here. It's just following this momentum arc we don't have. We just have to wait. All right, this is just a waiting period till we get over here. And then we'll have our swift and fast jump up. In fact, why am I doing that thing over there? I meant to put it, over here. There we go. All right, so be on the lookout for that. That Bitcoin, if you wanna, I'm excited to add the lower we go here. I've got various positions open at various price levels. Some all the way back down there, and some up here. But there's still a lot of room for Bitcoin to move up. But yeah, as we're seeing more volume come in here, that's just going to be a more supportive move to it. Regardless of where we get today, tomorrow's really our important area on Bitcoin. Enough on the cryptos. Let's go back to our currencies. Gold found a little support there, it looks like. That doesn't look like it's got a lot of supportive move. UJ, typical kind of resistance there. That's okay. Euro dollar, that's all right. Yeah, really there will be a short at that's probably our area between 1.2020 and 1.2010. Those are good opportunities. And that should be that. We'll see certainly see what happens as we go on here. That was some interesting news on the China situation. If we get something where it's like a corrective report, where somebody in China is now, in prison for making a political economic oops, we'll find out. And if that is the truth, or if China real officials come out and say that is not something that is going to be happening, then we expect a pretty big rebound here. That's a very big change. So we'll have to see. Again, not the greatest setups for this morning, folks. Hopefully tomorrow we will find some better opportunities. Wednesdays typically are kind of a doldrum of a day, but we'll see what happens Thursday. And I hope you all have a wonderful trading day. Hope yesterday was good to you. Trade smart. If you've experienced some losses or you've experienced some wins, sometimes it's fun to take a day off. I know that right now this morning there's not a lot of opportunity for me to do a lot. I can just set my alerts for my trade ideas, and I can just kind of go do something else. I can certainly finish the stairs that my wife wanted me to finish and fix. have other things to do, because the more you sit at your desk when there's no trading opportunities, the more you're going to try and find some that aren't there, and that's how you and then you just end up getting more frustrated. So you know, trade safe, trade smart, trade wisely, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye bye.